I note that we have all 5 members of the board: Don Carlson, Greg Babcock, Jim Hutchison, Tommy Everman, and Noel Halverson. Anything we need to discuss, Paul, before we get into the rest of the agenda?
No, I think you can run the meeting as normal. I just have a question for Shelby, if she's still on the line, about letting me enable the share screen option.
Yes, you should be able to click the button at the bottom of your browser. Do you see the button that says screen?
I do.
Okay.
Just by clicking that.
Yep.
I assume you'll be able to show us stuff then, Paul? Is that the way that works?
Well, that's the hope. I'm just having a little trouble getting that coordinated right now. Shelby, can you offer any advice on getting that?
Well, why don't we proceed forward with some of our housekeeping?
Sure. Sounds good.
For the members of the board, does anyone need to abstain from voting tonight? Apparently the answer is no. I see Tommy and I see Noel. I don't see or hear Jim. Greg, you're still on, right?
I'm on, and no, I don't need to abstain.
All right. All right, we'll go on to the next question. Was anyone out to see any of the properties whose variance requests we're considering tonight?
Greg Babcock's a no.
I will assume then it's a no for everyone. Did any of you?
Don, do you want us to vocalize in or just not say anything for a no? Would it be easier for us to mic in and just say no, or mic off and just?
Well, I think as Paul pointed out, we will want to have a roll call vote of each motion. So it probably wouldn't hurt for everyone to chime in just to refresh the memory of everybody on that you're still there.
Copy that.
Did anyone speak to anyone regarding any of the variance requests tonight?
No,
Tommy?
it's Tommy.
Tommy's
No.
a no. Noel shaking his head. Greg?
No.
Jim, are you on? Haven't heard Jim yet. Jim was on a little bit and then he vanished. So we will note when he comes back on. At the present time, we only have 4 members. All right, regarding the agenda for the meeting, does anybody have any comments, questions? Otherwise, I will assume that we can proceed with the agenda as it's been presented to us. Very well. Regarding the minutes from the last meeting, which seems eons ago, February 17th, 2020, does anyone have any concerns? Otherwise, I think a motion would be in order.
Motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it. This is Jim.
Okay, Jim's on. I heard Tommy motion to make the motion. Very well. We have a motion before us to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Jim, your vote?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Tommy?
Aye.
Noel?
Aye.
Very good. Everybody has spoken and affirmative. We have approved the minutes. We've approved the agenda. We've gone through our motions as far as the roll call and that type of thing. So I think we can proceed with the regular business. Paul, have you been able to arrange to show us anything?
I have not. This is the first time we've used this platform and probably the last time. So I do have a PowerPoint, but I can't share it because I don't, I'm clicking the screen. It's just not giving me an option to be the presenter, I guess. So I apologize for that.
All right.
I can
Why don't you
maybe
proceed
verbally
with,
just go through it if that would be helpful, and maybe you could follow along with the information that's provided in the packet. I could give you maybe a brief introduction to each item, and
right,
if you have questions, I can try and address them the best I could.
yeah, let's do that. Let's proceed with the Jones sign item. And why don't you go ahead, Paul, and explain what we have?
Sure. This is a property that's on the southwest corner of Baston and North Dan's Avenue. This is Dan's Elementary. They've gone through some recent remodeling in the past, recent future here, or recent past, I should say. They have an existing sign that is on North Dan's Avenue. I believe it's approximately 100, 120 feet south of Baston Street on the west side of North Dan's Avenue. It's an existing sign, and I believe it's compliant. The top portion says Dan's Elementary. They have about 4 or 5 lines of reader board. Most likely that was permitted back in the day. Their plan now is to change that to a digital platform, maybe an EMC type of digital sign. And because of that, they need to apply for the variance. So the current code talks about manual reader boards being up to 80% of the overall sign area. Unfortunately, when you go down to a digital, or when you go to a digital type sign, that limit is limited to 50% of the sign area. So basically they want to replace it one for one, replace the manual with the electronic sign. However, the code says you can't go up to 80%, you can only go up to 50% of the overall sign area. So that's why they made the variance request.
Okay, for the benefit of us, Paul, could you maybe clarify when the ordinance that we're considering a variance on was written? I suspect that has a bearing on our decision.
Yeah, I believe it was done in the mid 2000s, maybe around 2007 or so. This isn't a special section of the sign code that deals just with elementary and middle schools. So signage is unique to them, in, I guess, to a certain degree, and it's specified very clearly about the standards that are applicable. So I would say it's about 2007 it was amended.
All right. Alderman Dorf, this is not in your district, is that correct? Do you have anything to speak about regarding this sign ordinance and the considerations that the council may have regarding it?
Well, this is the reason I wanted to watch the meeting tonight. It is not in my district, but I would be in favor of allowing this and looking at it, because I'm looking on my other computer screen. I have it up, and it occupies the same area. So, if there's any way that could be allowed, it would make it easier for people to read when they're driving past, and yet it wouldn't change what's really there already, because it fits right in that same area. So I would be in favor of it. That's
All right.
why I'm here. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Yeah, as we've spoken about regarding sign ordinances before, we could deny everyone on the basis of the ordinance, but I think in this case, we have reason to make some consideration regarding the variance. So I'll listen to comments or questions from the other board members regarding this.
Just a technical thing, because we're doing this digitally, are we following the same rules in terms of opening or closing the floor for motions and such?
Well,
That should not change. That's still the same procedure, yes.
then I'm glad you brought that up, Tommy. Why don't you make such a motion in case
Yeah,
we have further discussion?
I'll make a motion to open the floor for the duration for comments from people here to talk about it for the duration of the meeting. If we need to close it, we'll make a motion to close it. So the motion to open it for the duration of the meeting.
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion made to open the floor for comments from people that are here. You seconded it, so I assume your vote is yes?
Yes.
Tommy, you arranged it, so I assume your vote is yes.
Aye, yep.
Greg
Aye.
and Noel.
Aye.
Very good. We now have an open floor. Tommy, Noel, Greg, or Jim, do you have any comments on this? If not, perhaps a motion would be in order.
Just quick question for Paul. Is there a consideration or a reason as to why digital signage is considered a smaller footprint than physical signage? Is something we should be considering in that regard?
That might be related to the age of the code amendment, I think. When the code was amended back 2007, I think digital signs were probably a newer technology. They're more common today, and I think there was probably a thought to keep the size of electronic signage smaller, maybe being less of a distraction possibly.
Okay, and then my other question, is there anybody, is the alder person the one here to speak about this, or is there someone else on the call that is wanting to speak about this or for or against?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Mike Stengel. I'm with the school district, and we're the people that are asking for the variance. One of the major is the cost. This is an existing sign, and our thought was not to have to rebuild the cabinet, just to take out the old reader board, which is difficult because it just has letters in there, and we have a lot of times we need to change the sign throughout even the day because of things that happen. Also because of the location of it, we like to have the sign in both English and Spanish, and it's very difficult for us to get all that wording onto the sign that's presently there. So our thought was just to replace the reader board with a new electronic reader board, so that we'd not have to have the cost of rebuilding the entire sign.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have no more questions.
Okay. Then I think a motion would be in order.
This is Greg Babcock. I'll make a motion to approve the requested variance.
Noel says he'll second it, I think.
Okay, so I understand that Noel is using sign language tonight, which is,
Can I do a point of order, sir? You have to close the floor first, and then they can make the motion.
Oh, really?
What?
you've got a chairman who's not familiar with all the rules.
I know. That's why I'm just helping. I'm just trying to help. Point of order, just move to close the floor, and then you can make the motion. Thank you.
I think the idea is they were going to make one motion to leave the floor open, possibly.
Oh,
Was that-
forever? Oh, okay.
Not forever, but I think for the items that are up again for the members.
I guess you guys can run it however you want. That's fine. Okay.
You're probably right, Ms. Dorff. We probably should be following that, but especially tonight when we're having so much trouble dragging comments out from people, I think we'll continue with Tommy's proposal that the floor remain open until close.
I apologize. Thank you.
We will close it sometime.
Okay.
All right, folks, where do we stand on the Green Bay School District sign? Did we have a motion?
Yes,
Did we have a second?
yes.
Therefore, we can proceed with the voting. Jim,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Tommy, Noel,
Aye.
and I am as well, aye. So 5-0, you have your variance. Anything else we want to talk about here before we proceed to the next one? Is everybody comfortable with the process? Or uncomfortable with the process? All right, we'll proceed to the next item, which is the Lassay property on Burns Avenue. Paul, could you fill us in on what this variance entails?
Sure. This is a property at 1825 Burns Avenue. It's a single-family home in a low-density residential area. The issue is a driveway widening that occurred without a permit. The driveway was widened to the right side. If you're looking from the street towards the home, it was widened on the right side of the garage, approximately 7 feet. I believe the applicant did submit a rough site plan showing that expansion. That is an issue because that expansion, well, for one, did not receive a permit. Secondly, it's unclear if it's proximity to the lot line, which has to be maintained 2.5 feet, and it does not lead to a parking spot behind the setbacks. So in essence, it's an expanded parking spot that is within the setback and is not permitted.
All right. I wasn't able to find this. Apparently my section 13 is old or something, because I wasn't able to find anything on this. But the issue to me is that, is 7 feet enough to call it a parking space?
It's not the width as it is the proximity to the lot line, and it does not lead to a parking spot behind the setback or behind the garage in this case.
All right. So it looks absent any other discussion, it looks like a driveway that's too wide, number one, and it may encroach on the setback.
Correct.
All right. Is anyone on here to speak in favor or against this variance request? Hearing no one. Go ahead, comments, gentlemen, on what this is. I have a few, but I'll save them till you guys have had a chance to chime in. Jim, you want to talk?
Sure. I remember seeing this in the packet when we got it, because I go through it to make sure there's no, I don't have to recuse myself, and I was fine with this meeting. And I just remember the photographs and the pictures and the plan view, and it seems that they're bumping up against the rules on the offsets, like was said. I guess, Paul, is there any safety aspect to this with the dimensions as it was constructed and at the street?
There aren't any safety concerns necessarily. This has nothing to do with the front door or any egress or any access to the home. It's simply an expansion of the driveway. Again, one, without a permit. Two, maybe not being compliant with its encroachment in the front yard setback.
Okay. And is the front yard setback at the street, or is it further back?
Well, in this type of neighborhood and the age and vintage, the setback probably is around 25 feet or so. So
Okay.
I think the front of the homes represents the front setback. So that driveway is permissible when it leads to a garage or leads back behind the setback.
The site plan seems to imply that they're within 2 feet 3 inches from the property line. So that would be at the very least a 3-inch encroachment if we can go by what they have here. Is that the way you guys read it?
Yes, that's where I see it.
Paul, when does too wide of a driveway become simply the extension of a sidewalk? It seems like something we may have talked about before, but
Yeah.
7 feet is the issue to me. It's almost too big to be a sidewalk, too small to be a drive. It's just too much and too little. And
Yeah. I again apologize for not having the images. I think that would hangs up a little. It's not so much the definition or the difference between a driveway and the sidewalk. I think it is once you start parking on it, it becomes the driveway. So I think if you saw the images, it's rather clear that it's an expansion of the driveway. It's not to say it couldn't be used for pedestrians, but the problem is that they're parking on it, and that makes it a driveway.
Okay. And that is the intent of the applicant, as they have said, that they want to find a place to put, I believe they want to find a place to put their wrecked vehicles or something like that.
Yeah, again, this is a complaint issue that was taken in by our inspection staff. They had several vehicles that I believe had to be removed, whether they were unlicensed or what the condition was, but I believe it's to be used for parking, most definitely.
Yeah. All right. I guess my reaction to this was that it seemed to me that there wasn't much of a need explained other than convenience. And I guess on that basis alone, I would be inclined to say no. I'll open it up to the rest of you to explain if you guys think that there's a reason to do this or not. Tommy?
Yeah, a couple questions. So if I'm tracking correctly, right now on the sheet, as I'm looking at it, the design, it says, the 7 feet part on side of the driveway was used for additional parking. And then there's that side area that's used for garbage cans. Is that correct, Paul, is the way you're reading it?
Yes, correct.
And for me, because again, it's really hard for me to read the application. So is the variance the side yard setback, or is it just, again, and I wasn't tracking with what you or Don were, so if you can get me maybe up to speed a little bit, is there a way to make this compliant? I guess is a better way to ask the question.
Well, I think that's a challenge. One is it'd have to be at least 2.5 feet off the side yard setback. I don't know if they have enough separation between the home and the lot line to create a parking spot, even if that was 6 or 7 feet, which may be bare minimum. I don't think there's enough distance there to actually create the spot.
So my thought is, right now, again, looking at the math on the document, it says, if we're trusting the measurements, that it's 9 feet 3 inches from property line to the original driveway. And then you take 7 feet off of that, which leaves you 2 feet and 3 inches. Is that fair? So to get into compliance, it would be 3 inches for the 7 feet, correct? So we're really looking at 3 inches for the setback, right?
Give or take, right? I mean, the drawing's not super accurate, so I mean, it's for what it's worth, I guess.
Yeah, and then as far as the parking on the concrete that goes along the side, that won't work for a parking spot no matter what, because you need 6 feet or whatever, 5 feet or whatever it is for concrete there to park a car, and it needs to lead behind the house to a parking spot. Is that correct? Or be covered?
Yeah, I think the code might reference about 8 feet needing to be a parking spot, but then that's a challenge with door swings and stuff like that. It's not to say you couldn't park something smaller there. It won't have to be a vehicle necessarily, but it's, again, maintaining the 2.5 feet off the lot line with any pavement.
Okay, and the 4, let's call it 4.5 that they've drawn for the garbage recycle bins, that's fine if it was within 2.5 feet from the lot line.
Yes.
Okay, so it's 3 inches across the. Okay, those are my questions.
Yeah, I think, Tommy, where I was coming up with this too is I think the problem the applicant has is that his garage isn't wide enough. If it actually did extend further over it, he could put the 7-foot extension on the side. So he isn't running into as much of an issue with the setback as the fact that he's gone past where he's allowed to for the widening of his driveway. Am I interpreting that right, Paul?
Yes, correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh.
So it's more than just the setback of 3 inches. It's the fact that he created a spot for a place to park without either going past his garage or having his garage wide enough to allow him to do it in the first place. So,
Got it. Okay, that makes more sense. So it's two things combined.
Yeah.
Got it. I'm good with questions.
Noel or Jim or Greg, did you have any questions or comments?
I think you explained it. I think you explained well for me.
All right. I think a motion would probably be in order then.
I'm always troubled when the petitioner is not present.
Yeah, he's not, but given the circumstances of the way our meeting is tonight, I can understand why he may not be.
This is Greg Babcock. I'll make a motion to deny the variance.
Anybody going to second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion made by Greg, seconded by Jim to deny the variance request for the property on Burns Avenue. We'll vote. My vote is yes on the motion to deny. No.
Oh,
Are you?
yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm yes to the motion.
Very good. Jim?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Tommy?
Aye.
Okay, I believe that we have 5 votes yes, in agreement with and in favor of the motion to deny the variance request. So the applicant did not succeed in getting his variance. Everybody agree with that? Hearing
Yes.
nothing, we'll proceed to the next. Go ahead.
I'm wondering if the petitioner were to come back within a year on this issue, which is normally closed to them after a meeting, that we might give some consideration to the fact that this might not have been an easy meeting for them to attend in some fashion due to tech reasons or other, and that we might be willing to entertain a reappeal if they were to come forward at some point in the future.
I think that's a good point in light of the present circumstances. I think to handle this, then a motion to introduce that consideration into the minutes, should the applicant wish to take advantage of it, would be appropriate.
Well, I don't know if we want to necessarily invite it by recording it as part of the motion. I'm just thinking maybe I'm asking us as to maybe just be open to that possibility if the petitioner approaches staff again or something.
It's fine with me to leave it informal. What do you think about that, Paul?
I think that's fair and reasonable under the conditions.
We would, wouldn't we have to do, since we already voted on the just point of order stuff, wouldn't we have to do that as a new motion since the other one has been voted on for this specific one?
Well, I think it would help, but Noel was proposing a fairly informal consideration that we remember if this should come back.
Oh, I'll leave that up to Paul.
Yeah, if you think.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't want to go on record saying, hey, you can ask us again and we'll reconsider our no.
Yeah,
You know.
I know what you mean. But
But if somebody says, hey, I tried to get in and I couldn't get into the meeting, and in a sense, we denied them, some sort of due process here, let's just be mindful of that from somebody who wasn't actually participating in the meeting.
fair enough.
Right.
So they would be able to, I don't want to say reapply, but they'd be able to approach the board in that year time frame. Is that the idea?
Yeah, I guess that's what I was trying to convey, but I don't think we should make that a policy or anything like that.
Okay. A reconsideration, basically.
Yes, if the applicant comes to you and requests such, then I think we'll be open to that possibility. All right, we can move on to item 3. This concerns the property on West Mason Street. First of all, is there anyone on the meeting at this point that will speak for or against this item?
Yeah, Jason Day with Excel Engineering, civil engineer for the project, obviously part of the project.
All right.
We also have Mark Rodriguez and Brian Smith to represent the owners of the property.
All right, very good. Thank you.
And then Tom Schermerhorn from Excel Engineering is also on. And I just have a question, Paul. You're having problems getting that on the screen. If you don't, do you have on your screen? Do you have a little icon with a phone, a screen, and then like a camera?
I do. I have the mic, the camera, the screen, and then it says leave meeting or leave. So I'm clicking on the screen.
So right below the screen, does it say the word screen with a little drop down arrow?
It does not say that. No, I don't know if I have permission, I guess. I'm not quite sure. This is the first time we've used GoToMeeting. So it says share your screen. I clicked on it and I don't have an ability to bring up another screen, I guess.
Oh, did you originate the GoToMeeting or did somebody else?
No, someone else did. Our IT department did that.
Yeah, that's why you don't have permission, because whoever originated the meeting has to give you permission to do that.
Right.
Paul. That's why you're not able to do that. So.
Shelby shows up as a presenter.
Paul, I did have you be the presenter. I can also make you the organizer if that would help.
I can try, sure.
Gotta love all this fun tech stuff we're forced to learn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I apologize. I just cannot get that to work at this point.
No problem. I was just trying to help. So.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I can run through real quickly again, just what the request is entailing.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, so this property is on the west side of Green Bay. It's 1860 West Mason Street. It's where Mason meets Taylor Street. It's the northeast corner. Our planning staff took through a request, I think, late last year for a rezoning of one half of the property to highway commercial. So the entire property is set up as a highway commercial zoning, which would permit drive-throughs by right. That was kind of a cleanup measure that we took from the applicant. This request is in relationship to the floor area ratio of the property. It's kind of a strange triangular shaped property. It is currently, well, was a restaurant. It was called the Burger House, I believe, back not too long ago. A new owner has come in. They'd like to put a new fast food restaurant in there. The issue is the relationship of the total building area to the total area of the lot, and that's the floor area ratio. So really what it is, it's the total gross area of the building divided by the overall area of the lot gives you a percent or ratio. And the zoning code requires that it be 0.1 or 10%. The existing restaurant is about 8 or 9%. I think the proposed restaurant that's going there is around around 5%, I believe, or 0.05. So that's the reason for the request. Is it's a little unusual. I think the board has seen these in the past, but rarely. But it's to go from the 0.1 down to a 0.05, I believe, in relationship to the floor area ratio.
Yeah, first of all, I do remember when we gave the variance to the burger people. As I recall, the variance needed for them at that time was paving too close to the right-of-way, perhaps, or something. What we have is that triangular property that I can understand why the applicant would have an issue with it. The applicant is also explaining, as I understand it, that they need extra room for the entrance and egress and standing in line of the cars that are going to be coming through on the takeout, as I believe. And so I can certainly understand why they would essentially put a building that's too small on a property of this nature. I think that if we were to deny this, we would severely hinder how this property is going to be developed if we would somehow insist that a full 10% building had to be put on this little triangle. Any other discussion, gentlemen of the board?
You know, this is exactly the sort of property and project that I think we're designed for when you've got those oddball parcels that don't work with the rules. And I see that clearly here. It looks like, you know, it's not a shed on a parcel that size, you know. How refreshing in some sense also to be dealing with a development that's looking to have a building footprint smaller than a minimum as opposed to exceeding the maximums as we typically are looking at when we're talking about, you know, changes to buildings or plans modified. And then I think, you know, then there's the significant public interest of getting a Popeye's chicken, and we're all, I'm joking on that last one, although it is good chicken. But I do think that this is completely appropriate and in line with that site, that location, and the significant amount of traffic that they're going to generate there, I'm sure.
Jim or Greg or Tom?
Yeah, Greg supports it. It's a really kind of a unique, weird looking lot in terms of the size of it, and someone that wants to build a project like this during these times, especially, I say all for it. And I don't think there's any harm, and certainly a hardship. So I'd approve it.
Tommy or Jim, unless you have some further discussion, perhaps one of you could make a motion to hear this.
I'll motion to approve the variance as requested. Nice, Noel.
Okay, we have a motion made by Tommy, seconded by Noel to approve the variance request for the new Popeye, right? On
Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen. Yes, sir. Sure.
All right.
Get it right.
We sell that chicken sandwich that broke the internet last. If you recall.
Yes, it sounds even better with a slight Southern accent. So I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Okay.
All right, we have a motion made and seconded, so we shall proceed with the vote. The motion is to grant the variance as requested. We'll start with the vote. Greg?
Aye.
Noel?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Tommy?
Aye.
5-0. The variance has been approved.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling in.
Thank you, everybody.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Best of luck with the new store.
Yes, sir. We're excited. We are very excited. Great. Thank you so much.
All right, is there anything else we want to talk about, guys?
There is one other item I think we have, an informational item.
Yes.
That's been kind of a rolling thing, which is the rules and procedures. So that's, I don't know if this is the best or opportune time to be talking about it, but again, it's something maybe for members to educate themselves on. If there's changes, you know, we can discuss that at a future time.
I agree. The format here is not real conducive to the kind of discussion that we may want to have. It's a low bandwidth discussion, and I think I'd like to be able to have a higher bandwidth discussion. So,
yeah.
I got to say, I'm glad we only had 3 petitions to consider tonight, and not 8 or 9.
Oh my God!
Angry neighbors.
That was a gift.
Did you cherry pick those balls so that we had an easy set?
That's kind of the way it worked out. I can't guarantee next month.
That's great. That was good to get the hang of it. We got to just work on getting the stuff up on the shared screen here.
Yeah, and I apologize for that. Maybe that's my error, but I think we're going back to Zoom, so we'll hopefully have better luck with that next time.
Yeah, I was going to ask if I have not had a voice meeting like this ever, so this is a first for me.
Hey,
You did great, Tom.
very good.
Are there other formats that are better, like Zoom or even FaceTime? Or
But they're all similar.
yeah, okay.
No, as citywide, we're using Zoom, so we had a little change in platform, but we're going back to Zoom, so
Yeah.
All right.
we're a little more familiar with that.
Okay, do we have to close the floor?
Yes, let's not forget to do that.
Is that a motion, Jim?
Yeah, I'll move.
Second?
Second. I beat you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
I just
Hey,
have one other thing.
Go ahead, Paul.
Because of the virtual meetings, we have a little bit of a scheduling issue that I'm going to be working on with IT. Our next meeting is May 18th, I believe, but there's a conflict where someone else has that time frame for us. So I'll probably shoot you some dates and times that might be different than May 18th.
That'd be fine. I find my calendar is pretty open these days.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I would prefer, if we're going to move it to the following Monday rather than the preceding one, but other than that.
I'll look at that.
Okay. Thank you.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Then I guess we can consider adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Say bye.
Aye.
All right, everybody. Good to see you. Hope you're all hanging.